Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm looking at a classic movie from the 90s, Outbreak. This came out in 1995 and was directed by Wolfgang Petersen. It stars Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, Rene Russo, Donald Sutherland and Cuba Gooding Jr. The film focuses on Colonel Sam Daniels, played by Dustin Hoffman, a United States Army medical research doctor. He's sent to investigate a disease that has appeared in Africa. When he reports back to his superior officer, General Ford, played by Morgan Freeman, and tells him that they should put out an alert on this disease, but the general that since the disease is so far away and not airborne that it cannot possibly reach the US. However, a monkey from that part of Africa was captured and brought to the US, when ultimately a man from the custom house sets it free. Later, the man who arrived in Boston collapses and dies. Colonel Daniels wants to look into it, but General Ford denies his request, so he turns to his ex-wife, who works the Center for Disease Control, or the CDC, to look into. They discover it's the African disease, but since it kills very quickly, Colonel Daniels feels that it has been contained until another outbreak. I haven't seen this film in a number of years, but I remember really liking it. Another one of those great 90s thrillers, sort of well-made films that came out. That's really hard to find now. These movies are hard to get hold of. This film is so more relevant now than it was when it came out in 1995 because of everything happening in the world. Yes, the virus in that film is much more deadly than what we're facing today with the coronavirus, but it's very relevant, the spread of it and how it could happen and how diseases can really affect countries and affect on a global scale. And this sort of looks at that in a smallest way, and how this virus has begun and how they come up with a vaccine. This is really well done, I think, in many ways. It's suspenseful. Wolfgang Petersen's done a really great job directing it. This is a really great shot, I think, early in the film, where he ultimately has the camera moving within and around this particular research center that Colonel Daniels is part of. And we get to see different aspects of it and different viruses and things they're working on, and the camera whips around and moves. And it's all done in one shot. It's really well done and it tells you everything you need to know in one single movement of the camera. I think all the acting is really solid. Dustin Hoffman's really great. I find him an internal actor. He doesn't express a lot of things, it's more internally, but it's about his expressions and it's about what he's trying to convey on the outside, but sort of struggling with on the inside. And there's moments where I swear he improvises in this, and he's just fantastic to watch. He's really one of the great actors, and he just is able to embody this character, make him believable, but add a bit of humor and a bit of heart to the character that you probably wouldn't usually see with certain other actors. I think Morgan Freeman's solid. Anytime I get to see him on screen, especially in the 90s or in his early career, I really love. I think he's a fantastic actor. He plays General Ford, and I really like him in this film. I like his character. I like he's conflicted with things. I like the relationship between Daniels and Ford and how they sort of clash a bit, but they're respectful of each other. And Ford knows that Daniels is the best man for the job and he's the best operator that he has. But he slowly starts to lie to him and starts to manipulate him in a way and try and get him off this particular case because he knows what really transpired and he's having a lot of pressure from an outside source. And he just conveys that in such a great way and has some really great moments. He can be an internal actor at many times, but he gives a great performance and it's solid and interesting here. Rene Russo is really great. I'm really been fascinated by her for a number of years. The fact she started as a model and became such a really fascinating actress, and she's really great in this. Plays Robbie Rowe. Very believable. And you go on the journey with her, and she has this really great moment where Kevin Spacey's character has been infected with it because of his suit tearing. And as she's trying to take blood, she accidentally sticks herself in the finger. And there's this great moment where she rushes into this room to a sink and pulls off a glove. And she thinks, maybe I didn't get the interior glove, and she does, and then blood comes down and she wipes it off. And it's an intense moment, and she conveys it in such a great way, and you just really feel for her because you know that ultimately she's probably going to be infected with this. And she shares the great moments with Dustin Hoffman's character in the film, and they play off each other really well. Hoffman feels like he's improvising in these particular scenes, and Rene Russo is just sort of reacting to it, and I really like that. And she's just a character you really care for, and you don't want her to get this disease and you don't want her to die because she's such a fascinating character. And she becomes such a motivating force for Dustin Hoffman's character, Sam Daniels, to come up with a vaccine to this to try and stop it from spreading and to save his ex-wife's life. Donald Sutherland's solid. He's good at playing sort of a prickly bad sort of guy. You can understand the choices he's making and why he's decided to do what he's doing. But he's relentless. He's really the villain of the piece. He's the character you dislike the most. You don't want him to succeed. And he's an adversary to Colonel Daniels' character. You really want him to be put in his place ultimately, which he kind of does towards the end of the film. Cuba Gooding Jr. is solid here as well. This was before he was sort of really known, and he hasn't been as successful as I think he should have been, because I think he's a solid actor. But he's really great in this film, and the chemistry he has with Dustin Hoffman is fantastic, especially in this particular scene where they steal a helicopter to try and find this monkey. And there's a lot of humour and humorous moments that come from these two on screen in this particular scene. And he served a big purpose throughout the film, coming up with the vaccine and ultimately stopping the town from being bombed in the end. Offers a lot of lighter moments as well as dramatic moments, and I think he's really great. Like I said, Kevin Spacey's in this as well, and this was before he was really known. I think he's solid here. He's really trying hard to stand out in this movie in many ways, with the humour, the way he acts, the way he looks. And I think he does a really good job here. I just think it's a really relevant film. It has a lot of suspense, and it's very cinematic and interesting and sort of scary in many ways. If a disease like that hit the world on a global scale, that was not like the coronavirus, but much more deadlier, it would be a terrifying, harrowing experience for us. And I know that there's still fear and worry around this, but this disease in this movie would be horrific to have been infected with it as a person and as well as the whole world. You're just ultimately glued to the screen, being sucked in by the film. There's a lot of suspenseful moments in it. There's a lot of moments where characters make decisions and you go, why the hell did you do that for? Or that's really stupid, well done type thing. And they don't realise the impact of what's happening. There's moments throughout it where they go to the town and there's a military guard around, and they're telling people in the town, if you feel sick or any of these particular symptoms, put pillowcase or some sort of white thing on the door so we know that we need to come and collect you and take you to a facility to help. But realistically, you know that they don't have the vaccine at this moment, that these people who are sick are ultimately going to die because of what we've seen earlier in the film. That it's such a tragic moment for these characters. And there's one particular woman who says goodbye to her 2 daughters and her husband and said, I'll be back soon. And you know, ultimately she's not. Sorry about that, the light just went out. Final thoughts. Really at the heart of it, this film is about what a disease can do to the world, how it can become a global thing, and how sometimes the governments don't tell everybody the truth or don't tell them what's actually going on, and only give them small bits of information to tell the world. And that causes much more devastation and much more struggle for these particular people. It looks at how easy these diseases can begin just from an animal touching someone or spitting at someone or scratching them, and how these diseases start really quickly. I'm going to give Outbreak 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed my experience with it. It is a scary film, and if you're really worried about what's happening in the world and stressed out about things, it may not be the film for you. I just really thought it was brilliantly put together, some really solid acting, a really great film, solidly written, solidly performed, and a really captivating and interesting story. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom, follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movie.